Welcome to the 9642 podcast. This is your host, Mr. Number 9.
And this is The Fool.
Your 96 best place to listen to...
For 10 years.
Yes, for our 10th season of our mostly up-to-date...
And unqualified. And unrequested.
ramblings of the various issues in the world of sport.
Or something like that.
Hello, everyone. We are back to our sort of bread and butter. We're going to look at football.
Yeah.
We know that there's an incredible relegation battle in the Premier League going on, and the title is still up for grabs. Totally, Manchester City's totally not going to win. Honest.
No.
And
yeah. No, I already told the Arsenal fans at work. It's over, man. It's over. It's done.
yep. But all that aside, we are gonna look in Europe, where all the English teams have been unceremoniously knocked out, other than Aston Villa holding the flag high for
Oh, go Villa. I mean, boo Villa,
and
but go Villa.
And they're probably also gonna qualify for the Champions League.
Yes.
Now,
Fair.
Aston Villa, we'll get to them because they are in the Conference League semi-finals. We're going to review the semi-finals. Alright, should we go order of least important to most important, or?
Let's just start with most important first. We'll start with Champions League and go from there.
Champions League, alright. So our Champions League semi-finalists are Bayern Munich and Real on one end. Team that has won 5 Champions League in Bayern Munich, I want to say maybe 6. Yeah, 6.
Yeah.
And they and we have a team that has won 10
Many.
Champions Leagues. 13 Champions Leagues in Real Madrid.
I was about to say, I think the correct measure for Real Madrid's Champions Leagues is many lots.
Many. Yeah.
Even my sons like to comment on that, the fact that, oh my god, Real Madrid's won so many Champions League. Like, yeah, they may as well just name it the Real Madrid Trophy.
Do you
sometimes.
know that there was a whole decade in our lifetime when Real Madrid didn't win the Champions League and kept getting knocked out by teams, by Lyon in the knockout stage?
That's what makes it funnier.
And like that was their whole thing. They were looking for La Decima because they fired Vicente Del Bosque after he won the Champions League and League.
Yeah.
And then then the team went decades until Zinedine Zidane came back, and now they have 13 Champions League.
Yeah.
3 further from Zidane, putting them to 12, and obviously Carlo Ancelotti got them the double
Yeah.
in the Karim Benzema season.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, they play Bayern, who at the moment this is all they have left to play for. They got kicked out of the Pokal by a third Bundesliga team, and they have lost the league to Bayer Leverkusen, who have that's all we can say. They're sensational this season, dropping only 8 points. They're gone from Neverkusen to Neverlusen.
Yes, exactly.
Undefeated so far, and properly undefeated. They haven't lost a cup game or a European game.
Yeah.
The closest team to have come to accomplishing this is Ajax 1994 team that won the Champions League, but they lost one of their semi-final legs, which they overcame and won.
Right.
It's still incredible. That Ajax team is one of my favorite football teams of all time. They were ridiculously dominant. Like, they were good. Like, for the first time in my life living in Brunei, we got daily updates about what was happening in the Dutch league in like the evening news and in the newspapers.
Wow.
Because everybody was spellbound by Ajax.
Yeah, Ajax. During then, 94 was just amazing. You said.
Yeah, I mean, just that team. You just look at players like Van der Sar, Patrick Kluivert, Clarence Seedorf, Edgar Davids.
I think any time a team, goes undefeated through a season, that team becomes pretty immortal. And if you can do it, say, with just about every competition you're in, that elevates it again.
Yeah, but this team, as I said, lost one game. But still incredible because they did the triple. Like, I'm sorry, like a proper triple, like domestic cup, domestic league, like, you know, like the equivalent of what Manchester United and Manchester City accomplished. You know, domestic cup, domestic league, and domestic and the European champions, and they've only lost one game, and it was a leg, and it was a leg in one of the in the Champions League. So if Leverkusen does that, obviously they'll get through. But we'll talk more about them in the Europa League. The next part of this league is we have Borussia Dortmund against PSG.
Yeah.
This is PSG's other opportunity, right? If they're not going to win the Champions League this year, when are they going to win it?
Yeah, I think so.
You've got Mbappe for this season. He's going to leave next season, probably for Real Madrid.
Yeah.
Which probably puts Real Madrid up ahead to being like the most likely team to win the Champions League next season.
Yeah.
They're playing against Borussia Dortmund. The semis, like of the two opponents they could have faced, this is the easier one with respect, because Dortmund are currently below Bayern in the Bundesliga, and you know, Real Madrid are La Liga champions elect effectively, so you know, Borussia Dortmund are nowhere near as good as those two teams.
Exactly.
And PSG are in great European form, managing to reverse that fixture against Barcelona and come back with a 6-4 win after trailing 2-3.
Yeah.
And Barcelona had 3 away goals. Not that away goals count anymore. So, and Dortmund also similarly had a very made the comeback. They were 2-1 behind against Atletico, and they came back 4-2 to take the tie to the next round. Bayern had a hard-fought draw against Arsenal, and basically a very, very tired-looking Arsenal team petered out and lost to them 1-0.
Yeah.
And probably the fixture of the round was Real Madrid versus Man City, the fixture I predicted would happen from the draws. They played an incredible 3-3 draw in the Bernabeu, and it was 1-1 at the Etihad. Under the old rules, obviously City would have gone ahead on away goals.
Yep.
But this instead went to penalties, and Real Madrid going ahead against Manchester City. Otherwise, I think we would all be pretty much saying, yeah, Manchester City are going to do the treble again.
Yeah.
Because they're in the FA Cup final.
Yeah, exactly.
Against Manchester United.
Yeah.
So it would have been back-to-back trebles.
It could have been back-to-back trebles for them, but yeah, to say winning in Europe's no easy thing. So
no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
And look, Real Madrid are their bogey team, and there's no shame in that. It's Real Madrid. PSG has overcome their bogey team in Barcelona.
Yeah.
Because that's the team they would traditionally
lose to,
lose to and like get wiped over after taking huge leads.
Yeah.
So the great thing about for PSG is they play the away leg first at Dortmund, and then they play the home leg in Paris. So they'll know what they have to do with their fans ahead of them. Ditto for Real Madrid. They play Bayern in Munich first, and then they face them again at the Bernabeu. What are your predictions, George Dawes?
George Dawes, what's the scores, George Dawes? I think I prefer the home team in the second leg, so PSG and Madrid. I feel these are both going to be pretty tight affairs. I think PSG will probably outdo Dortmund over the two legs reasonably well, but Real Madrid Bayern will be quite tight, and I think the home crowd at home will help Real. So
I mean,
I think PSG maybe by 2 goals over the two legs. and Real Madrid will be one at in Madrid. So
yeah, I have to agree with you. I think PSG. This is all they have everything to play for. They should try to go ahead and win. They're in reasonable form in their domestic in the domestic league. Obviously, they're gonna win League On. No issues there. I do think I agree with you that the two German sides are probably both gonna get knocked out because Real Madrid are just an imperious form. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like they were challenged by Manchester City. Manchester City is probably the second best team in Europe right now. They're just really unlucky to have faced each other in this side of the draw.
Exactly. They've been on other sides. That was the final. I mean,
Real Madrid probably have this year's Ballon d'Or winner in their team with Jude Bellingham.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially if England end up winning the winning in the Euros.
Yeah.
So we can so we know that they are going to they're gonna do really well as I think.
Yeah.
And they're like Bellingham is my pick for Ballon d'Or.
I can't argue with that, really.
And probably like 2023, we can probably argue Erling Haaland was robbed because they gave it to Lionel Messi because he won the World Cup the year prior. But that's not supposed to count.
No.
Because it should have been Erling Haaland by all measures. But in the end, we have what we have. Real Madrid are going to play Bayern. I expect it to be a close game. Like you said, they're both super wily at this leg. But Bayern are a club in turmoil. We don't know who their coach is going to be. We know Thomas Tuchel is leaving at the end of the season. He wants to coach in England. And no offense, bag's not for us.
Fair call.
I don't know if you guys want him back. I don't think he'll go back.
I don't think he'll come back. I don't think it's not. Doesn't matter what we want. He won't come back to us.
But to be fair, a team that gets Thomas Tuchel that isn't Chelsea, Liverpool, or Manchester United will get a good coach.
Yeah, exactly.
Those are the three teams that it will not suit him. Like Chelsea, style-wise, yes, but bad. There's already history. United, his style wouldn't suit. The team or the club, and obviously it wouldn't suit Liverpool.
No.
Like Tuchel is in many ways the anti-club. And we also know like Julian Nagelsmann's going to be available, so there's going to be a few good German coaches. Unless somehow Nagelsmann manages to win the Euros with Germany, then he might take the team to the World Cup, which is what I would do if I was him. Winning Euros, take the team to the World Cup. That seems. Though to be fair, Juande didn't. Luis Aragonés won the Euro in 2008 and retired, and Vicente Del Bosque took that Spain team to the World Cup and then also defended their Euros. So, it has been known to happen. I mean, look, Aragonés was 80 years old, so fair enough. He retired. That's a very different situation to a young man like Nagelsmann wanting to prove. He'll want to prove. He's got lots left to prove. So this is the situation. Like I think you're right. Bayern. I think Real Madrid, PSG. That's our prediction. We'd not be shocked if the opposite happened. Obviously.
No.
This is as far as these two German sides go.
Yeah. I think so. I think you're right. So it's not a shock if either of the German sides win, but balance of on paper. I'm saying this is the end of it. You say PSG, Madrid final. and I mean that's an excellent final as well. You say PSG trying finally to win something. Madrid, say just being Madrid, especially in Europe, but just all over. So.
And it's gonna be in Wembley, so there's gonna be a huge crowd. It'll be
that'll be amazing.
I feel like it'll be an amazing game.
Yeah.
Following on from the Champions League, we have the Europa League, where we have Marseille from Ligue 1, Atalanta up against Atalanta, and we've got Roma up against Leverkusen. Now, Marseille are not in the best of form in Ligue 1, so it's kind of good that this is what they have in the Europa League. Be quite interesting if they did win the Europa League and qualified for the Champions League, because obviously Leverkusen doesn't need to win this anymore to qualify. They're a champions elect. They're the only remaining champions elect in the Europa League, and I think rightfully the favorites to win this competition. As we were mentioning, they're going for the treble, Leverkusen, and trying to do a proper undefeated season.
Yeah.
Not losing a single game. When playing in 3 competitions, the original invincible Preston North End that won the first English League title back in 1888 went undefeated in the league, and they won the FA Cup without conceding a single goal.
Wow.
So yeah, they were undefeated too, but obviously back then we didn't have European competition, so they didn't play in Europe. And they would go on to defend their league title and concede their first goal in the FA Cup to a little-known northwestern club called Newton Heath, which would go on to be named Manchester United.
Well, there you go.
A local rival.
Yeah.
To them. But as we saw, Liverpool played against Atalanta, and they basically petered out. First leg in Anfield, losing 3-0. And then Liverpool got a goal back, but Atalanta kind of controlled that game to prevent themselves from.
Yeah. Well, when they're 3-0 up, they say if you can hold them out and just retain possession,
Yeah.
Not a lot there. Anything can be done then. I mean, to be fair, Liverpool had all the possession in that game as well. They had 70% against Atalanta at home. But
But Atalanta are a great counter-attacking team. Very, I think, very good at playing vibes-based football. They're a materialist relationship team. It would be very interesting, I think, if the coach of Atalanta were to Gasparini were to go to England, because I think he's one of the he's one of the other great Italian managers coming up. Like Syria, I don't know. Is it too late to say? Syria is back, baby.
Yeah.
It's not the top league in Europe. That's still between the Premier League and La Liga. But producing really, really great managers and training up great players, tactical systems just coming out. Italy is just the forefront of innovation, and you and I have been following Syria for the last few seasons. It's had a different winner since for the last 3 or 4 seasons. We've followed it with Napoli, Inter, AC Milan, and Juve. Inter Milan in that period have won 2 of the titles, but I think low-key could have had a dynasty, but just it was too competitive. Other than this season and the season Napoli won, all the other seasons it was competitive till the last day.
Yeah, exactly.
And sometimes 3-way challenges.
Yeah, exactly.
For winning. So Syria's producing because of that competitiveness in Syria that you also have in the Premier League. The tactical innovations are coming out of there, and it's a bit more slightly lower stakes because you're not going to have the expensive, super top of the line players that the Premier League have. So they're gonna go. So you get to try out with the next group, like the people in their early 20s who are not quite yet a top player. There's good players, and maybe even very good players, and also Lukaku. You know, wherever you fit him in. But as I say, we shouldn't overlook Marseille. They overcame Benfica, who had a 2-1 lead over them, and in the return fixture they got a goal back and went ahead on penalties. Roma, like, you love to see it. They fired Mourinho and then beat Milan over 2 legs to take the aggregate over 3-1. Leverkusen were kind of challenged, I think. 2-0 initially ahead of West Ham, and then the return fixture was 1-1, but West Ham looked promising. They looked like they could have even things out. They did get an early goal from Antonio, but then at the last minute goal from Frimpong means that Leverkusen's undefeated, obviously. And they go ahead 3-1. And as we said, Atalanta were very, very impressive. How do you see these fixtures going? Marseille play Atalanta, and we've got Roma going up against Leverkusen.
I think I'm not the Marseille Atalanta. Actually, both of them. I'm struggling to pick the right winner for different reasons. So Marseille Atalanta, I'm unsure. Like Marseille, you say, hasn't been so well in France, but have shown great strength of character to be this far in this in the competition here in Europe. So that's what gets you through European football is being able to hold it together during these important matches. Not that Atlanta's not, but I feel maybe Marseille in this one. Like technically it should be Atalanta. They're doing better. They're looking better. They're just generally playing better. I mean, they're 6th in Serie A. It's a fairly competitive league. They're looking good, but I just feel like Marseille is going to win this somehow. So I'm just going to put Marseille there just to feel like it's a little bit of an outside shot, but I feel like there has to be upset somewhere. And then with Leverkusen and Roma, like I sort of want both of them to win somehow, but Leverkusen with the undefeated run, I think they're obviously on high. Everything's running right for them. Roma doesn't have Mourinho anymore. I'm sorry, Roma.
Mourinho would have a plan. I don't know. It's Alonso. He's had a plan, right? Alonso's the new Wunderkinder coach. So I don't know. Like also, Mourinho, another guy who's available for a Premier League club. Should they be interested? Unless he's going to coach Portugal or in Saudi Arabia.
That either of those options is probably fairly likely, I would have thought.
I mean, I think it would be interesting to see Jose Mourinho be the coach of a Portuguese national team. I can see that work quite well.
I think it would be a good capstone to his career, right?
And it's a very decent team. Cristiano Ronaldo's at the end of it, but I think he wants to play at least till the next World Cup. So
I think Ronaldo there is just. And I think Mourinho is one that
wants to get 1,000 career goals. That's his goal. He's on 800 and something ridiculous at the moment. But, I mean, so he's basically like 885 senior goals. So he's only got only quote unquote 150 career goals to go. Like if it's like a 30-40 goal season, that's doable in the next 3 or 4 years. I mean, I think a 45-year-old Cristiano Ronaldo can still kill it in the Saudi Arabia League. I don't care what people say.
No.
And probably in most lesser leagues in Europe outside the top 4.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Now, looking, my prediction here, I agree with you with Roma. I think while they've done well to come here in a very, like, a season of ups and downs for them, I think Leverkusen are they're on fire, they're on form. They're the team of the moment, and I think Alonso is going to take them to the finals of the Europa League. And this is my vibes-based pick. I think Atalanta are going ahead. I love Gasparini's style of play. He's got his ridiculous 3-4-3 formation, which just flips around and puts more and more attackers up front as he feels like.
Yeah.
And he's always and he's one of the few coaches that loves to have a deep-lying playmaker and still plays with a number 10. This is what I want to see, man. I want a coach that still believes in the romance of the sport. So
yeah.
I'd love to see him, obviously I'd love to see him in the Premier League with the right club. I mean, imagine him at United. It would be so good. But Atalanta, I think they're gonna get ahead. I think they're just they've got nothing else to play for. If they make it to the finals, obviously if you win the Europa League, you could get to the Champions League, and that could be 6 teams in Europe for Italy, because they look like they're gonna get the top coefficient. They're gonna get 5 teams.
Yeah, they are looking like that.
And if Atalanta makes the finals, I think that's nailed on, because that'll be enough coefficient points as well.
Yeah, I think
so.
Possibly even just with, I suppose Leverkusen's on their way through, they might help Germany catch up.
So at the moment it looks like it will be Germany and Italy.
Yeah.
That get ahead.
I don't think there's much.
Because I think the only 2 countries that can catch up are France and England, depending on what Villa does.
Yeah, I suppose, Villa manages it. I think Spain's probably a bit too far off.
Yeah, no, Spain's mathematically out of it.
They are out of it, so it's only England if Villa can make it something useful.
Yeah. And Italy still have Fiorentina up their sleeve in the Conference League. Yeah. So, there is much to play for. I think for Germany not to get the 2nd spot, they have to lose both Champions League ties to both Roma and both BVB and Bayern Munich have to lose, and also Leverkusen has to lose to Roma.
Yeah.
At which point, if Aston Villa can make it to the finals, I think that gives you the coefficient points for England to get that 2nd spot. In which point, Spurs would be in the Champions League, the way it is now.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Manchester United aren't catching Spurs, or Newcastle United for that matter. Those are the 6th and 7th place teams.
No.
So
they're not catching them. I'm sorry.
And I think Italy is more or less nailed down.
Yeah, you would have to for Italy to be out. No, I don't think Italy
would have to go ahead, and Marseille would have to beat Atalanta.
Yeah.
And I believe Club Brugge would have to beat Fiorentina.
Yes.
At which point Aston Villa winning could catch it up, or Marseille winning could catch France up. If if the 2 German clubs get kicked out of the Champions Leagues simultaneously, which we're predicting.
Yeah.
So that's one potential. Okay, that's one potential way that could happen.
That'd be pretty close,
likely.
Though. Yeah, very unlikely. It looks pretty. That would, just eyeballing it, would make it look pretty close to. That might not even make it for France, or it should probably make it for England, but France, even Marseille winning, might not. But that's nearly 2 whole average points, or 2 whole points on average, which is a reasonable amount to catch up.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see. But that's it. I think Leverkusen's winning the Europa League outright
yeah,
anyway.
Yeah, like to go back to our original point, we're both predicting Leverkusen to at least make the finals.
At least make
like
the finals.
It'll obviously on the finals, injuries, all these other things play a factor, but I think if he was to play Alonso play against Atalanta, that would be a heck of a game. That's the two managers. They'd have pretty well rested players because this would be the most important, like for Atalanta, most important game of the season.
Yeah.
Leverkusen have already won the league. Unless they're trying really hard to go undefeated, they're gonna give players in their squad games.
Yeah, exactly.
And they've got the Pokals, so I mean, I don't know if Leverkusen want to be the never loosen team, but yeah.
I mean, why not?
It would be one way to forever destroy the old, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think any team, when they're at this sort of point and it's like, hey, we've had 90% of a season and we haven't lost yet, like, you want it to go all the way, right? The problem is just not letting that get ahead of yourself, so that becomes the thing. You're like, oh, we can't lose because we'll lose the record, and then everybody stresses about that. And then you lose. Yeah. Then you lose the semi-final against Roma or something like that. So I'm sure they're professional enough to just say take it a game at a time, but we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, I assume Alonso is working all that out with his players. So I think so you're the only difference here. Our first disagreement, you think Marseille, I think Atalanta.
Yeah, and we're both going on vibes.
Yep. Next up we have the Europa Conference League.
Yeah.
Just a funny thing I noticed, the Europa League final is on the 23rd of May, which is a Thursday, and for some reason the Conference League final is on the 30th of May, which is also on a Thursday, but they're like, I would have thought the Europa League final would be the week after rather than the other way around.
Yeah,
the Conference League final is played on the same week as the Champions League final.
Yeah.
Which is going to be on the 2nd of June, which is a Sunday.
Yeah.
Now, this is all New Zealand time, by the way.
Yeah.
So it's probably the day before for anybody who's from the UK or the United States.
Yes.
We know that one of you from those two countries listen. We don't know who you are, but we know.
We know. Actually, to be fair, say hi to the United States because we've got plenty of US listeners. So.
Really? Oh,
yeah. Wow. So the stats say they I think they may in the last few months actually we've had more US listeners than even New Zealand listeners. So.
Wow.
Which is
we're
amazing.
A proper podcast now.
We're a proper podcast. It's amazing. We're global.
We have a market we can pander to.
Yeah, pretty much.
Now, so we're going into the Conference League. We have England's last remaining hope for coefficient points in Aston Villa, going up against Olympiacos, and the other leg has Fiorentina, Team Purple up against Club Brugge, Belgian giants. Now, Club Brugge played against PAOK and managed to beat them 3-0, including an impressive 2-0 victory over PAOK in their stadium.
Mm-hmm.
And Fiorentina played against Victoria Plzeň from Poland, I want to say. And they managed to beat them in the home leg, going through to the semi-finals. Olympiacos, on the other hand, went across the Dardanelles to play Fenerbahce in Istanbul and managed to win a close tie 3-2. And in the reverse fixture, Fenerbahce did come back to win. They won 3-2 at home. Beg your pardon.
Olympiacos.
In Athens, and in the return tie in Istanbul, they lost 1-0 but they went ahead on penalties after, even though they got a red card. Aston Villa played against Losk, winning 4-3 on penalties after going 2-1 at home and losing 2-1 away. Also kind of scraping through. So Villa, I think it's an interesting position because I think they are almost certainly going to get the
Champions League spot.
They're probably almost certainly gonna get the 4th place spot. So this is now their most important game of the year. They so I expect them to fully put everything into this game. Olympiacos is currently 4th in the Greek league, a point behind their great rivals Panathinaikos. Now apparently the Greek league does this thing where they split up. Because it's a 12-team league, they split up after halfway through the season to go. There's like a relegation group and there's like a championship group.
Right.
It is still pretty much all to play for. There's 34 games. IK Athens are currently leading the table with 75 points for 34 games. PAOK are 4 points behind them with a game in hand. Panathinaikos are also 71 points, but they don't have a game in hand, and obviously Olympiacos have a game in hand over Panathinaikos, and they're 1 point behind at 70. So I would expect Olympiacos, they have matches to come to play, including against IK and PAOK and Panathinaikos. So there's a chance for them to win the league still. Very good chance.
Big chance.
And so there's plenty to play for them. And then obviously they've got the Aston Villa fixtures to play literally 3 days before they play against PAOK. So
some big games.
It'll be interesting to see how, basically the second Aston Villa fixture, they play Aston Villa back to back, and then they play their Greek league fixture. So maybe also that kind of still is good for them in a way. But they're not gonna. They've got a lot to play. They've got a lot to play for still. Where Aston Villa's league season is more or less, we've done as good as we can. We're not going to get 3rd, and at this point, we're probably not going to buy down to 5th.
Spurs does have 2 games in hand against them, which if they win both.
Yes, against Manchester City.
Manchester City and Chelsea. I know who their games are against.
Yes.
Theoretically.
Okay, if Spurs manage to catch up, power to them.
Exactly. I think I would say you're right. Aston Villa should be comfortably in 4th, really.
Yeah.
Which is I
think
gives them great focus here on the Champions League, Conference League. Say, this is their silverware. So this is their championship. They can really focus in here and bring home a trophy to stick in the cabinet. So
and I think ditto Club Brugge. They're currently equal 42 points with Anderlecht in their league. They're in fire in the Belgian league. They've won their last 5 games at least. Looks like their goal difference is 46. Why are they below Anderlecht then in the league? There must be some weird rule in the Belgian league about that. So what evs? But yeah, I mean, obviously top two get to go to the Champions League, and the third team gets to go to get to the Europa League qualifiers. But there's they've got a bunch of their matches up as well. They have a top of the table clash against Anderlecht coming up.
Yeah.
And they play Antwerp in between playing Fiorentina. And as you and I mentioned, Fiorentina don't really have much to play for at the moment.
No.
They're currently 6th. I don't
Fiorentina
think they look like they're about 8th. So
yeah,
Fiorentina, they don't look like they'll catch up to 5th, which is potentially going to be a Champions League spot gifted to Roma.
Yeah.
I mean, if Roma beat Leverkusen, they will have earned this Champions League spot themselves.
Yeah, well, exactly.
So, though there is it's pretty tight at that 5th, 6th spot between Roma and Atalanta. But yeah, Fiorentina are quite a bit further away. They're nowhere near in trouble for relegation. I think this is their biggest game of the year.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for Fiorentina is that this probably becomes the biggest game as they're a little bit far off even any European football for next season. I mean, potentially you can catch Lazio, which would be the Conference League spot. So they do have a game in hand, so though that game in hand is against Atalanta, so you know.
Yeah. They've a bit to play for.
They got a bit to play for, but I think you're right. The Conference League game is potentially the bit that actually gets them a decent Europe next year. Like if they can win these games,
it'll be. Yeah. It's going to be very interesting for Italy. So if they do get that 5th place, and Roma get to get that 5th spot, or Atalanta for that matter, and the team that finishes 6th in that league manages to win the Europa League, very possible.
Yeah.
One of those two, Roma and Atalanta, are still in the Europa League. If the team that finishes 5th doesn't win, potential, because they're playing Leverkusen with Roma at the moment.
Yeah.
And Atalanta, it's a final one-off game. They could beat Leverkusen, and if they're 6th place, they're in the Champions League. So there's 6 Italian teams in the Champions League, and if you have an Italian team win the Conference League, that's a Europa League spot, and whoever finishes 7th ahead of Fiorentina would qualify for the Champions League as well. And then you've got the Coppa Italia winners, whoever they are, would qualify. So you've got, there'll be a full Italian Monty at the at the European competitions next year, and I would expect Italy to do equally well, because more teams and Italian teams tend to go at least to the you tend to go at least to the quarters.
Yeah, exactly. Italian teams generally make they do well.
At least in Europa, in the Europa Conference League and the UEFA League, Europa League.
I mean, even in the Champions League, the top few normally make it that far as well.
In the UEFA Champions League, they have to rely on the draw. Like Inter got on the good side of the draw last season when they faced Manchester City. But the usually at least quarterfinals. There'll be 2, not 3. Italian teams.
Exactly.
And we think Inter are a good side. We think AC Milan are a good side.
Yeah, definitely.
So
Juventus are not bad. They normally can turn up for European games. So
so they're all very, very capable.
Yeah.
there. And then obviously if you have Roma and Atalanta as well, that's just gonna make things really, really interesting.
So say it looks
and
like
you've got Napoli, who are also very capable. So 6 good teams in the Champions League, not just
Napoli's down in 9th, so they're not Champions League next year. But you have Bologna.
Sorry, they're Bologna. Beg your pardon. They're having a great season.
They're having a great season, and them being in the Champions League next year, it's just going to be a ball. They'll just be like, "Yeah, look at us! Whoa, yeah!"
Yeah. So there's a lot to look forward to for Serie A. Like, this is a huge boom. But I do think Fiorentina are going to beat Club Brugge. I think Club Brugge have still got too much to play for. Like I said, very well inside the champion race in Belgium.
Yeah, definitely.
And the big rivals, Anderlecht, they want to beat them.
Obviously.
And winning the league means you get to the Champions League next year. If you win the Conference League, that means you get to the Europa League next year. There's no question which one you're going to prioritize.
Yeah, well, exactly.
And they have a harder fixture list because they're playing their games in between the Euro fixtures, unlike Olympiacos, who get to play Villa back-to-back.
Yeah.
And then go to their league fixtures. But like I said, I think Aston Villa, this is the game they want to win. They want to win a European trophy. 4th place, European trophy. And Unai Emery is in Europe, this is the guy. He's the Europa League master. I can't imagine he won't win the Europa Conference League with Aston Villa. So I expect a Fiorentina Villa final.
Yeah, that would be my expectation as well. I think Villa are just going to be too strong for Olympiacos, and they'll make it. And then pretty much the same for Fiorentina. Club Brugge have got other things to worry about. Fiorentina, this will be their focus. They're playing well as well, and yeah, I just see Fiorentina going through. So Aston Villa Fiorentina final.
It'll definitely be interesting because Vincenzo Italiano, the most Italian name I've ever heard, coach of Fiorentina.
That is an excellent name.
Yeah. He's very young. He's only 3 years older than me, 46 years old.
Yeah.
And he is going to be up against the veteran in Unai Emery, and it's very hard for me to look past Unai Emery, just leading Aston Villa. So all the situations we've described, potentially possible.
Yeah.
There is so Germany can't lay on their laurels. There's definitely potential for them to lose that spot to England if, as we suspect, they're not going to go ahead on the Champions League. But I think they're relying on Leverkusen here, and I think that's a good bet.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's Leverkusen's going to take it for them. It doesn't matter too much. I don't think you can say it's a good bet just to be like Leverkusen's taking that Europa trophy home. So that should be enough to lock in Germany. And I think.
Oh, it would be. It would be interesting to see Roma play Atalanta in a Europa League final, while also going for 5th and 6th place in the Italian league, because at that point they'll know 5th place gets you a Champions League. But also whoever wins the Europa League gets you a Champions League.
Oh, even better. No, that I almost definitely want that now. When is that final? Oh, it's 23rd, I suppose. Because in Serie A, they've still to play each other. They play each other on the 13th of May. Atalanta and Roma. That was they could just delay that a week, and then they'd play each other twice, and it would pretty much be the 2 games that decide, Champions League football for either one of them next season, or potentially both.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, it's there's Serie A's got so much stuff going on. For us at least, it's been the most fun league to be following in the last few years. Because the winner's been unpredictable. positions have been unpredictable. The only thing predictable has been the relegation battles, because that like a team just stinks up eventually, unfortunately, in the bottom end. But top side is it's got everything going for it. It's a beautiful crema on top of a nice Italian espresso.
Yeah, exactly. I think probably the only real problem with Serie A is it doesn't quite have the depth. So as you say, you get down to the relegation battle and it's sort of not quite as engaging. But basically everything top half is even more sort of top 12 is just delicious. So
it'll be also like I wonder what will happen if if Atalanta do manage to make it to the Champions League next season through a Europa spot. Is Gasperini going to get a going to be looked at in the looked at for a Premier League team? Like there's plenty of teams looking for coaches, and there will be plenty of teams looking for coaches, and come the end of the season. In the current table, we know that and also let's not beat around the bush. Barcelona and Bayern Munich are looking for coaches.
Exactly.
So there's two big jobs on the line. I think if we know Liverpool are looking for a coach, so that's 3, and Manchester United might be looking for a coach. And Chelsea might be looking for a coach.
Probably less likely, but still might be, because things aren't particularly great. But I feel like Poch is going to be given another season in this. Like, he seems to be given a lot more of a room than any other previous in this current regime, so the 2 previous ones. So I feel like he'll probably be given at least another half season to show that it's going to work, but who knows though.
But there's some good Premier League jobs available right now. There's like 2 of the biggest English clubs, Liverpool, Manchester United, potentially looking for a coach. I think we could say Spurs are not, Aston Villa are not, Newcastle probably not, West Ham maybe. They're not they haven't re-signed the contract for David Moyes.
All right,
So maybe Chelsea,
maybe
unlikely but possible. Bournemouth probably not. Wolves, always a possibility.
Always. It's Wolves.
It's Wolves. They're eternally looking for a coach. Brighton and Hove Albion, probably not, unless their manager gets a job at one of the big clubs like Bayern Munich, etc., or Barcelona for that matter. Then you've got Fulham, probably not.
No.
Crystal Palace, probably not. Everton, definitely not. Brentford, probably not.
No.
Nottingham Forest, maybe? Luton Town, probably not. And Burnley, probably not.
No.
And Sheffield United, probably not.
I mean,
they'll give Chris Wilder a go in the championship.
Those last 3 championship anyway. So.
We've counted about 7-ish.
I mean,
jobs available.
And you got to consider if anybody, the ones coming up, would want to from out of the championship. I know dumping people as you come up is not necessarily the best thing, but whether one of them wants to grab a quote-unquote winning coach, with Predica and everything, whether they need that. But I guess Leicester's pretty much. I think they may have actually won the championship, if not are pretty close to it. Was it 3 games, so not quite guaranteed. 1 more win. Leeds, don't know, probably not, but
Leeds, probably not. Leicester, probably not. But maybe. They're ruthless, Leicester's owners.
They are ruthless, so yeah. And then, what was it? Looks like Ipswich. Well, I mean, Ipswich is still. Oh no, they. Oh, were they? Oh no, Ipswich is still in the shop for actual top.
They're not changing managers.
Yeah. Southampton, maybe. Norwich, West Brom, maybe Hull. Those are the ones that be playoff.
Alright, Southampton are always
Southampton always,
like we can. Yeah. They're an eternal candidate for coaching hires.
Norwich probably less so.
Yeah.
And I think West Brom and Hull would be, if they made it up, would just be like, we made it up. Oh my god, this is the best thing ever. And wouldn't be looking to change anything anyway, so.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the situation. Like, I don't think. Also, we should mention after there is always a rumor that Carlo Ancelotti might take the Brazil job.
Yeah, well,
which would be insane.
It would be insane.
Like, I would love to see that. Oh, also, there's possibly a PSG job available too. Just out there, like, you know, there's always
a PSG job. There's always a PSG job available.
Yeah, so there's some great managers like your Tuchel's. Yeah. Obviously, we know Tuchel wants to go back to the Premier League. And Nagelsmann. And I think if they do go, if I were to predict, if Manchester United do not, I think Manchester United are gonna keep Ten Hag because it's just too much dead cap money on their salary, you know, on their spending limit and everything. Yeah. So they may as well pay them, and then after they're out of contract, hire a new group if they're gonna do that. Yeah. That's it. They've got one season, and also if Ten Hag wins the FA Cup, it makes it less, you know, easy to fire him.
Yeah. If he wins the trophy.
As you said, I don't think Chelsea are getting a new manager.
No.
Either.
Not yet. Next season, maybe. Not this season. Not the end of the season.
Yeah, the instability is era's over. At least for now, unless Poch has a really bad start next season.
Yeah.
This season's done. There's no point now.
Exactly. Let's say if they were going to get rid of Poch, they would have done that already. Like.
Yeah.
And things are starting to look like they might be turning anyway, and looking a bit better. And the promise is there. You can see the bits that are going to work. So.
If the rumors are true, because Guardiola's contract ends next year, he's not renewed. He is another potentially gonna take the Spanish job or the Brazil job.
Oh yeah.
Coach.
Yeah.
I can't see how he would do the Brazil job, but the Spanish job, yeah.
Spanish job, yeah. I can see that definitely.
Yeah, and so he's if Pep leaves, if next season is the last season for Guardiola, and if it is, let's just assume Manchester City are gonna win the league next season, his final season, then you have 5 in a row, and then he can retire from he goes on to next patch, and that sort of makes sense, I think. But if that happens, like, the Premier League's open. You've got a season to get your crap in order next season, and then, you know, everyone, like, Arsenal's currently in pole position, but everybody else in a position to take that City crown. Every other team in the Premier League's beatable, other than City, for the crown.
Pretty much, yeah.
Other than Guardiola, there's no perfect manager. Like, no manager keeps evolving exactly the right amount, and you know. Has the right system and has the support of the club structure around him.
Yeah.
Like, there's a reason why he's number 1.
Well, exactly. So he's earned that ranking, and he continues to show it. As you say, he evolves.
Yeah.
He knows what he needs. He's got a good team. He knows how to get the best out of it. He knows how to renew it at the right times and everything as well. So yeah, I mean that City machine is just keeps on going.
Yeah. But they won't get the Champions League this season, and yeah, hopefully Arsenal can beat them. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
And they don't get the 4-peat. But yeah, I think that's all we have time for today. Thank you so much for listening, and look forward to hearing from you next time.
Catch you next time.
Well, that is the end. Thanks for listening all the way through.
If you liked what you heard, we have even more. NineSixFourTwo Discord and a Buy Me a Coffee.
Pretty sure it's Buy Me a Beer.
Oh yeah, buy me a beer on buymeacoffee.com.
In both these places, you can talk to us, and we may even listen, especially if you do buy a said beer or coffee. I might still be confused.
Yes, we're easily bribed. All links are in the show notes below.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
This is on YouTube.